Okay, if everyone can find a seat, we'll get ready and call our meeting to order at this time. We thank everyone for coming, and at this time I'd like to offer an invocation, after which we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we come together again today to go about the work of our city and our community. We just thank you for the many blessings that you have given us so far throughout this day. One of those being the rain, which I'm sure is badly needed. Every day, Father, is a blessing from you. We just ask that you would be with those in the island of Hawaii who are still suffering great damage. So many people have been misplaced. So many died. So many of their lives changed forever. Just helps us to remember how precious life is and how quickly it can be taken away from us. We thank you for the many people that have taken their time to come here today, express their concerns, and just to learn about how their council does business and the way their city operates. Pray, Father, for those who are weary and downtrodden. Just ask that you would lift them up through your grace, your mercy, your healing power. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
So if you would rise now, we'd like to do the pledges of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you all that have not been in a long time, it's been a long time since we've done the Pledge of Allegiance, and it makes you feel good to do it and say it. So I appreciate you all joining in with us. One item that is not on our agenda tonight, we have an empty seat in that of Councilman Daughtry. Mr. Daughtry has recently moved, or is in the process of moving outside of the city limits. So he has submitted his resignation. That is the reason he is not here tonight. So we will miss him. He was very valuable to this council, and I appreciate and extend all the best for him and his family as they move into a new residence. Tommy was an asset to this council while he was here. Our next item is the adoption of the business agenda. We need to approve it as it is presented, or if there's anyone has any conflict. And there is one matter here, that being the public hearing, that I may need to excuse myself from being involved in. In that case, Mr. Farabee, the Mayor Pro Tem, would handle that. And if there's anyone else that has any conflict or perceived conflict before we call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, on the new business, number 8, letter D, I would offer the council my recusal from this, as it directly affects me as a school employee, if you wish.
8D.
8D.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I see you looking at me. I think the appropriate time to take those issues up would be when we reach that point in the agenda.
Okay, you can guide me on that in case we need a motion to excuse somebody.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With those two things being said, if someone is so moved, we would accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Farabee. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The agenda would be approved. Item 4 is special recognition. I'd call on our police chief, Chief Guy Ant, to make this presentation for retirement. Captain Mosley.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mike, if you come up here for me. I didn't know all these people really liked you this much. This is pretty good. You got a big fan club here, huh? They just want to make sure you're leaving. He's left. Okay, so you're all good. I just want to take this opportunity to recognize the 21-year career of Michael Edward Mosley. Rush might have known that. I've been calling you Edward the whole time. His last day of employment with the City of Roanoke Rapids Police Department was July the 31st. Captain Mosley is actually taking another job right after this to go be a school resource officer at the Roanoke Rapids High School. His son is a senior, so he's got to keep his eyes on him. So that's what I was told. So Mike is joined by his wife and his son. And y'all are more than welcome to stand up here if you want, but I know you don't like that. So she's working on a honey-do list. She didn't have time right now. So Captain Mosley, I didn't get a chance to really work with him a lot over my time of being here in Halifax County, but we did have a lot of interactions over the years with training and different events such as that. The month that we did work together, I do appreciate everything that he helped with the transition. And he is definitely an asset to the city and will continue to be an asset to the school district as a school resource officer. Part of the recognition is twofold. One is to give him his badge. He has already been given his badge. We put together a little plaque for him and had all his badges together, and it was a really nice thing that we had made up for him. So he has that. The other part that is under General Statute 20-187.2 is the issuance of a firearm. The firearm is being issued to Captain Michael Edward Mosley and his badge as well in consideration of the sum for $1 received from him and upon his security permit as required by North Carolina General Statute 14-402. And his firearm is a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson M&P pistol. I double-checked. He said it is not loaded, and I have no fear, but I did double-check. He's a firearms instructor, and I still check behind him, right? So, Captain Mosley, I appreciate all your service to the city of Roanoke Rapids. Thank you so much for helping me out this last month, and you're definitely going to be a success at the school. And I have nothing but positive things to say about our time together, and I wish you nothing but success and luck, sir.
Just so you don't go over 3 minutes.
No speech.
Well, can I say something to you? I just like to extend, on behalf of the entire city council and the citizens of Roanoke Rapids, we appreciate your service to us here and the surrounding community. I'd like to wish you all the happiness, success, and fulfillment in the years ahead as you move forward to another stage in your life. May God bless you, may He keep His hand upon you, and grant you His peace and wisdom that you will live in His earthly kingdom. So, thank you again.
I do have one more thing that I forgot, and thank goodness our Human Resources Director reminded me. I appreciate that. I got an ugly look. Have a plaque here for you as well, talking about Michael Edward Mosley in recognition of distinguished and dedicated service to the city of Roanoke Rapids from October the 20th, 2002 to July 31st, 2023. Mayor and City Council, City of Roanoke Rapids. So I want to make sure you got it. You still didn't want to say anything.
You know, when I went to the high school about 100 years ago, I was only 12 years old, and we about 4 foot tall. So we went when we were in the 7th grade, And can you imagine being 12 years old and 4 foot tall, looking at you if I had done something wrong? Yeah. I believe you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order. We need to have a motion on that resolution with respect to the sidearm.
Okay. I got to give that to you. Okay, need a motion to approve Captain Mosley receiving his sidearm.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to award Captain Michael Edward Mosley his service sidearm and badge for in consideration of the sum of $1 received from him upon securing a permit as required by North Carolina General Statute 14402. He will receive his .40 caliber Smith & Wesson M&P serial number HDK 4160.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Steinbach. There is a second to his motion.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Farabee. Is there any more discussion on the matter? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And all opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, Captain Mosley.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add that the sum of the dollar has been paid by retired Captain Andy Bryant. So, Mike, we wish you well in your retirement and hope you'll always find home at the Roanoke Rapids PD.
Thank you.
Next, I call on the Fire Chief, Chief Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and citizens. Tonight, I'm honored to recognize a few of our firefighters that have achieved certain goals throughout their career. Well, mainly one that's achieved a goal, one of them who's a new hire, and then later in my presentation, we'll be recognizing a couple guys who actually have some life saves. So if I could have Mr. Jonathan Woodall and Mr. Jacob Fellhauer, please step forward, please. Jonathan Woodall was hired with the Roanoke Rapids Fire Department in March of 2016. Jonathan's a native of Wilson and a graduate of the Wilson Fire Academy in 2015. He's married to Jennifer Woodall and two children, Grant and Tinley. Jonathan was promoted to engineer on C shift in 2018, where he served in that capacity until August of last year. Last year, Jonathan was promoted to lieutenant, which is a company officer level, which for those of you that don't know, that's a supervisor level within our department. He is currently assigned to B shift on ladder 141. And tonight, if I could ask Mr. Grant Woodall to step forward, please. I hear Grant's a pretty good baseball player. Is that right? And unfortunately, Jonathan's wife couldn't join us tonight, but Grant will be placing his dad's lieutenant badge on his shoulder tonight. So. Next, we have Jacob Fellhauer. Jacob was hired with the Roanoke Rapids Fire Department last August 2022. He resides with his grandparents up at Lake Gaston and has been with the Longbridge Fire Department for roughly 5 years. Jacob kind of was one of our first ones to go through a fire academy that we as the city of Roanoke Rapids sent through. You know, we've hired different ones such as Jonathan out of fire academies before, but Jacob was one of the first ones we actually hired and actually sent through an academy. Him along with a couple more who couldn't join us tonight. So that seems to be working out pretty well for us at this point. Jacob, as I said, graduated from the Fire Academy in December of this past year of 2022, and he's currently assigned as a firefighter on C shift. Tonight, his grandparents are here in attendance, where his grandfather, if I could ask Mr. James Ketzel to step forward, and he will be pinning the badge on Mr. Jacob. Thank you, guys. So next, I have a couple life saves. What designates a life save to the fire service? Basically, our members, as most of you know, get dispatched to medical calls to assist with numerous things from car wrecks to any kind of trauma that someone may have had at home, or even cardiac issues. So tonight we're going to recognize a couple of different life saves. And what designates a life save to us is any member or the company who is actually involved in a successful resuscitation of a patient who is without pulse and respiration. The patient was resuscitated in the field and was either admitted to the hospital or released from the medical care. The term resuscitation refers to reestablishing the patient's pulse. And that's per what we go by through the state. So tonight, for the first life save, I'd like to ask Mr. William Will Harris and Mr. Jared Wood to please step forward, please. These two gentlemen were dispatched to a call on April 22nd of this year for an act of their quick response and bravery. They were able to resuscitate one of our citizens that had went into cardiac arrest. Upon their arrival, they were able to, with the help of EMS, revive the patient to the point where they had the patient transported to the hospital, and when that patient was delivered to ECU North, it had a pulse, or the patient had a pulse and was breathing. So tonight, I'm going to briefly read what is on the certificates. For an act of heroism and life-saving on the 22nd of April 2023, while serving as a firefighter for the city of Roanoke Rapids. On this date, you responded to a call of a citizen unresponsive and not breathing. You, along with your firefighter co-worker and Halifax EMS, rendered aid to the unresponsive patient. After performing life-saving CPR to the victim, a pulse was regained and the patient was transported by EMS to the local medical facility for further care. This commendation is bestowed upon you for an act performed in the line of duty which, through your knowledge of life-saving skills and prompt alert action, resulted in saving a life, and is presented today, 15th day of August 2023. Okay, so our next life save here, just to kind of show you how things, how it's a lot of times just the average citizen that helps out with cases like this. This life save was performed not too far from here. A bystander was driving down the road, noticed a young lady who was exercising that happened to basically pass out on the sidewalk. He and his wife turned around, went back to assist the patient, and the patient went to cardiac arrest at that time. The gentleman called 911. His wife ran down to the fire station, which was roughly a block away, and got the guys. They responded back up there. In the meantime, we had another citizen riding by who happened to be a volunteer firefighter with the Gaston Fire Department, stopped and started performing CPR on this patient. Then by the time our guys got up there with more equipment, they were able to administer AED shock along with supplemental oxygen and continued to perform CPR. And the patient was successfully brought back. And so if I could ask the following people to, first of all, I need to recognize the callers. And I hope he doesn't get mad if I call him up here. But Mr. Tim Hucks, and his wife, Judy. These two were the ones that were riding down the street and happened to notice the young lady And so they made the phone call, and Miss Judy ran down to the fire station to get the guys to come assist. And so if it hadn't been for their quick action and being able to, to notify someone for help that quickly, we don't know if the outcome would have been the same. So I think we give them a hand. Okay, a couple of these gentlemen were not able to make it tonight, but we do have a couple here. So if I could ask Mr. Hunter Whitmire and Mr. Jacob Fellhauer to please step forward, please. There were also two other individuals that were that assisted them that day. Lieutenant Chad Turner, who was unable to make it tonight, and also the young man from Gaston Fire Department that actually stopped and assisted. His name was Jarvis Horn. He also was unable to make it tonight, but we do have a accommodation for them that we will be presenting to them later. So tonight I'm gonna briefly read this one for Hunter and Jacob. For an act of heroism and life-saving on the 18th January 2023 while serving as a firefighter for Grand Rapids on this date, you responded to a call of a citizen that had collapsed and was not breathing. You, along with other Grand Rapids fire personnel and a passing volunteer, rendered aid to the unresponsive patient. After performing life-saving AED shock and CPR, the victim was resuscitated and transported by EMS to our local medical facility for further care. This commendation is bestowed upon you for an act performed in the line of duty, which through your knowledge of life-saving skills and prompt alert action resulted in saving a life. Mayor, that ends my presentation, and I appreciate everything.
All right. Thank you, Chief, and thank you for the good work that the firemen are doing every day. Thank you all. While they're moving out, we'll go ahead and move on to unscheduled public comment. We do have 3 individuals that signed up. Morgan. I know you have spoken before with your 3 minutes. You did a real good job last time.
Real quick. My questions is
if you want to wait just a second till they get out. Some coming out, some coming in. We're getting off at the wrong time. We're getting off at the wrong time. We start charging.
BE also ready, huh?
We start charging. Okay.
real quick, 2-part question.
Miss
Or
Morgan,
two quick-
Miss Morgan, if you could pull the mic down closer so that,
And if you don't mind, state your name and
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Jan Morgan. I just got 2 questions. Again, that mine are about the theater, which hooray, hooray, it's sold. So my first question is, what is the interest rate we're paying on those outstanding loans related to the theater? And more importantly, to me, as a financial person, is as I understood it, our costs related to the general, just keeping that building, owning that building, was approximately $10,000 a month, as I recall. Assuming we've already paid 2 months worth of that more or less. In this budget year, we should have maybe $100,000 that was scheduled to go towards that, I'm assuming. And so my question is that going to go to pay down principal, or do we have plans for that money?
Ms. Trainer, do you want the finance director to speak to that, or you want to send her something back, or how do you want to, I know we normally don't have conversation with the comments, but how do you want to handle that tonight?
We can get some information to you, but just for the sake of answering a quick question, the current interest rate is at 2.54%. There were two financing instruments. One was paid off early, just over a year ago. And then we only budgeted for about 6 months. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we didn't budget for a full year of maintenance. So any of those funds, once the accounting comes out, we'll be able to provide you with a report.
All right, appreciate it.
And in relation, in answering your question too, back several years ago, this council was able to get, for lack of a better word, a much better rate than what we had. It was over 5%, I think, before we were able to get it refinanced. And we had a variable rate at that time. Now we have a fixed rate, so
Yeah.
it's much better finance.
Right. All right.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I need the waiter. My name's Clint Jones. I moved to this town in 1980, 43 years ago. I remember when Emory used to run out and pump gas. The paper mills were here. The cotton mills were here. There were jobs here. Over the 43 years, I've seen a lot of jobs leave. Very few come back, except restaurants, low-paying jobs. At one time, I started my own business, and I found that the city was not real business friendly. If you're going to survive, you're going to have to start making some concessions for the people that are building the town. And that's my comment.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lewis, I see. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. My name is Jenny Lewis, and I am the President CEO of the Roanoke Valley Chamber of Commerce. I had no intention of speaking tonight, but as I look out over the audience, I just want to commend the business owners that are in this room tonight. If you do own a business, raise your hand, please. Okay. This is what makes up our community. And this is what I'm proud of when I say that I am the president of the chamber. A lot of you may not be chamber members, and that's fine. But what I would ask of you all, if you can make it out tonight to this city council meeting, come out more often, get engaged with this council, and make sure they know who you are. And if there are problems or concerns, let's get them addressed before they go too far. I am all about the business world. I've been a business owner. So I support you highly in your day-to-day jobs. So thank you guys for making a point to come out and support businesses. Let's support all businesses in this community. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Next item on the agenda, the council meeting minutes. We have one for July the 18th, one for July the 24th, the special meeting. They both can be approved with one motion. When somebody'd like to make one to that effect. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Councilman Stainback. Do we hear a second to his motion?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Bryant. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The minutes will be approved as they are presented. The public hearing is the next item on the agenda, and for that, I would yield to the city attorney to bring us up to date on this matter.
So, Mayor and Council and members of the public, I want to kind of take a moment to kind of discuss this matter, and I think my comments may be largely dispositive on what you're probably mostly here for. I guess first of all, I want to thank everybody for their level of engagement. I know Ms. Lewis with the Chamber already said that. I think regardless of to the extent that there are sides on this thing, whatever side you're on, I want you to know that being here and kind of understanding this result is an important part of being engaged as a citizen. I know so many times, people will kind of trade jabs on social media, but as far as actually kind of engaging to this level, this is where it gets meaningful. And so I think that's important, and I hope no one feels, at the end of the day, regardless of how this turns out, that you wasted your time in this, because I'm here to tell you didn't. I guess first of all, I'll say that this situation regarding cricket's accessory use has had a relatively quick turnaround time. I think it kind of developed when I was out of town for almost 2 weeks, and I think it kind of developed over that period, and I really only became aware of it towards the end of last week. And so, just to kind of in brief, the issue that we've got is under our zoning code, performing live music is an accessory use and it requires a special use permit in most circumstances for a property in this district. Okay, so normally on normal occasions you would have to go through a quasi-judicial hearing, such as everybody was noticed to be here for today. But between yesterday and today, the city manager and I and Kristen Anderson with the planning department have had several discussions about this matter, and we've received a lot of commentary and evidence that I think is important and that should be considered in this matter, and that all three of us feel are important. And I'll say our director of planning, David Wise, couldn't be here today. He is actually at a conference. And so if anybody has that question, that's where he is. And so he delegated that to Ms. Anderson. After I spoke with the city manager about it and she spoke with Ms. Anderson, they walked across the street from City Hall and met with Mr. Floyd yesterday, and he provided some more information. And I don't know if he realized it at the time that he was providing that information, but some of the information that he provided was, I think, important to the determination that has been made today by the three of us. And so that evidence is as follows. I think it's clear, and I suspect that many of you that were here to kind of voice your opinion today were going to get up and say that the prior business at this location, the Eagles Club, operated primarily as a private club, same kind of use that Crickets and Mr. Floyd is asking for, and that they had an accessory use that they operated, which was the live music. And again, that's an important kind of distinction between a primary use, that is the main use of something, and accessory use. And you can get down in the details on that, but basically I think it's pretty clear what is the main use of a piece of property a lot of times, and what is something that only occasionally happens. It's kind of an accessory to that. So, it is clear from what has been shared with us over the last, I'll say, 36 to 48 hours, that the prior owner operated this in the same fashion that Mr. Floyd is asking for to operate it in now. And in fact, the Eagles Club operated that for a long period, even prior to the current kind of architecture of our zoning ordinance. It even pre-existed that. So their primary use is a private club with authorization serve food and act in some ways as a restaurant. Their accessory use is live music. There's been no change in use. That is, there hasn't been some kind of intervening property owner that has come into this piece of property and operated in a different fashion. It's the same piece of real property. There hasn't been any material expansion. I know Mr. Floyd it seems, has done some renovations. That's normal when you acquire a new piece of property. Certainly, prior to Mr. Floyd's acquisition of this and Crickett's acquisition of this, the Eagles Club was closed for a time, but we all know that was during COVID. And so they couldn't have operated their business during that. And since he's taken it over, he's been engaging in renovations, and that's something that our zoning code accommodates in these circumstances. So what I'm saying is that based on that info, Ms. Anderson, the city manager, who I'll just remind everyone, prior to becoming your city manager, had 10 years experience in the planning department here in Roanoke Rapids. And then myself as city attorney, we have all come to the decision, and we are 100% convinced that the use that Mr. Floyd is asking now, and that Crickett's is asking now, is grandfathered in. Okay? Because the Eagles Club had the same kind of use. There's been no break in that continuity, so to speak. We're not talking about a different piece of property. We're not talking, even though he's a different business, it's the same location. And so that's what our discussion is, and that wasn't where we were at 36 hours, 48 hours ago, until we started receiving all this information. And like I say, it's been something that we've been kind of confirming behind the scenes. So the result of that is that the three of us, and without putting words in Ms. Trainham and Ms. Anderson's mouths, I think the three of us seem to be in agreement that the planning department can authorize this use administratively forthwith. And so, well, hold on. So that obviates the need for the quasi-judicial hearing that we had scheduled today, and I'll tell council I'll tell council that my feeling is that if council were to have the quasi-judicial hearing tonight, and you were to make a decision that was not that Mr. Floyd's requested use was authorized, I think he would have pretty good grounds for a lawsuit, and I think he'd prevail on that. And so I think there's only one choice that council could make in that situation. I don't think council has to make that because as I say, it's pretty clear that it is a grandfathered use. So, and like I say, if we hadn't had such a quick turnaround time, or if myself and city manager and department had kind of had this information to kind of consider in a more timely fashion, probably we wouldn't have even had this on an agenda to come up. It's just been a real tight turnaround. And I'll say too, again, I want to apologize for everyone. I hope you don't feel like your time is wasted. I know we had to send out, like any quasi-judicial hearing, you have to send out notice to adjacent landowners or property owners. And if at a hearing like this, those owners have a right to testify. Anyone that is not an adjacent owner cannot testify by law. It's kind of a crazy situation as far as the way that it's set up. It's much more formal than what we're used to and what council is generally used to. Quasi-judicial means that the council, when they're hearing on these matters, are actually sitting as judges. They're not sitting as normal councilmen or council persons, so to speak, as they would in any other kind of administrative proceeding. So it's kind of a higher level of evidence, and that's the reason why there are so many different kind of checks on it. But again, that's kind of where city personnel are, and I was, between the three of us, I was kind of selected to deliver the news or volunteered myself. So, subject to council's questions, that is kind of where we are with it. I think that it would be fully appropriate for the council at this time to, based on that, to determine that this issue is moot and to proceed to the next portion of the agenda. But if council has any questions about that or the different kind of aspects of the zoning involved in this, certainly we are, we would be glad to answer those.
I have something I'd like to add too. And this decision or interpretation is based upon the proposed use that has been presented in the application, of being infrequent, like it's not the primary use of the facility. In the application, it states that primarily it would be one night a week for live music, and concluding that music by midnight and so forth. Should the live music aspect of it increase beyond or to an additional frequency or a higher frequency of it, then we would be back in here. So as long as we kind of continue on in the modest fashion that has already occurred, then again, the outcome is as it's been determined and stated by the city attorney. So.
Okay, if there are no more questions, do we need a motion to move on to item 8?
You don't. There's really
Mr. Mayor, I
nothing.
got a question for the attorney.
Sure.
Why, before the meeting, why didn't you advise our mayor of this situation, and so we could have removed it off from the agenda altogether, and it would have never been,
The problem is given the short turnaround, if we had 2 weeks, we probably could have done that, but we had noticed people to already be here, and so that was the basis of the email that I sent this afternoon. And I think I say in there that I don't believe that the hearing would go forward. But there's a lot of people here tonight, and there's no good way to notify people that I don't think would be more chaotic than having it said here.
well, I think you made the right decision. I really do. But I just felt like maybe you should have notified the mayor.
And we did send an email out this afternoon, or I did, and kind of referring to that, maybe about 2 o'clock, 1:30.
And I'll just add too that with it being a scheduled quasi-judicial hearing, we couldn't just simply take it off of the agenda. We had to come out and say something about it, going through the requirements of that. And really a lot of it has been moment to moment throughout the day, and to really right up until the council meeting started, discussing this with Mr. Floyd, the applicant and property owner, to ensure that the understanding was the same, and that he would be consistent with his application and the frequency that has been explained.
Okay. Well, I'll say again, y'all made the right decision on it. I think it was a good decision to make instead of us having to go through the hearing. But I just wish in the future that you would notify the mayor what's going on, so council would be aware of stuff.
Okay, if it's okay, since it's on the agenda, if you don't have any problem with it, like maybe make a motion that we move on to the next item.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we move on to item 8, hearing the evidence that was presented, that the item 7 was grandfathered in, and that it goes forward.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All right. Before we move on and take up 8A, if we take a quick recess.
Any further discussion? Get a vote on that. Get a vote on it.
Okay, we got to vote on the motion. We better hurry up and do it. Any more discussion? Did we get a second?
We
Did
did.
we get a second on it? Okay, got a second by Mr. Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay, we move on to 8. Anybody like to excuse themselves and do that, it's fine. pork chops cooking.
Wait, wait.
Okay, Mr. Simeon has the next item, which is 8A, proposal to repurpose the Emery Park tennis courts. Mr. Simeon?
Thank you. As you know, the last several years, we've discussed the Emery Park tennis courts in our budget sessions. We've discussed what to do with them. We've gotten some figures to repurpose them. We've gotten some figures to remove them. Currently, there is a group of over 400 Facebook members that want to talk to you this evening about repurposing those tennis courts into a friendly, family-oriented skate park. And that's different than the skate park that we have currently. I'm going to allow them to talk about their vision and what they would like to see done. Tonight, we are in the infancy stage, so we're just getting started. We've met with this group, the city manager and I have met with them twice. Very productive meeting. For those of you that are in here with the group, I applaud you for your efforts and the way you've gone about this. Been very mature, respectful, and you've done it the right way. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, because that makes our job that much easier to communicate with you. And some of you are in here that I worked with on the original skate park. So I've worked with you before, and I just want to say thank you for your approach and how you go about talking to the city employees and doing the right thing. So at this time, if Brandon Woodard and Justin Kerr would come up here and just share their vision and their ideas. This is just an informative meeting we're having here with you tonight. We're not going to take any action, but I'm going to discuss with you a little bit after they're done, okay? And afterwards, we'll be glad to answer any questions that either they can answer or I can answer. So Justin Kerr, and behind him is Brandon Woodard, and they're part of this group, and they've been the part that has been spearheading this. So Justin, I'll kind of turn it over to you. And
how y'all doing tonight? I'm Justin Kerr. I know most of y'all already. Just kind of been skateboarding, I guess, for about last year. It's something that me and my daughter do, and my girlfriend and her boys do. We get together and go out to skate park. And I just want to start and say that we enjoy and we love the skate park we have. We're very thankful for that. And but it's sort of aggressive. My little girl's 4, and even I can't skate everything out there. And we went out to Williamston a few weeks ago and saw they got one about a year ago, and it's very mellow, beginner friendly, and there are folks from all over Greenville, Raleigh, 100-degree day, still out there hanging out, skateboarding, having a good time. And saw Emery Park tennis courts were kind of in disarray. Thought maybe that'd be a good spot, and so that was my idea. I asked John, and here we are now. But Brandon here's got a little speech, a little more. I'll just let him take it.
I'm Brandon Woodard. I just wanted to say a few things on behalf of this group that has come together. Dear Mayor and Council, I'm humbled to be here today to share our innovative proposal and request your support for a vital and exciting community project that will positively impact our city's youth and residents, the establishment of a beginner skate park at Emery Park. As an engaged and dedicated member of our community, I'm confident that your endorsement and advocacy for this initiative can make a significant difference in its success. Skateboarding is not only a popular recreational activity, but also a way for our youth to stay active, build confidence, and develop valuable skills. In the summer of 2020, it made its debut within the Olympics as a recognized sport and competition. A well-designed beginner skate park can provide a safe and inclusive environment for budding skaters of all ages and skill levels to practice and enjoy their passion. It can also serve as a hub for community engagement and foster a sense of camaraderie among residents. Some of the benefits of a beginner skate park in our city will include youth development. A skate park offers an outlet for physical activity, creativity, and personal growth. It can provide a positive alternative for young people and keep them engaged in healthy, productive activities. It can also provide a location for future skate camps and competitions. Community gathering. The skate park will revitalize an unused space at a potentially multifaceted park, with the goal of drawing more families, friends, and neighbors to bond, watch skaters, and enjoy the other benefits of the park, such as the track, playground, and picnic space. Tourism and economic impact. A well-designed skate park has the potential to attract visitors from neighboring areas, boosting local businesses such as cafes, shops, and restaurants, furthering community resilience. Safety and accessibility. By providing a designated space for skateboarding, we can reduce the risks associated with skating in inappropriate areas, enhancing the safety of both skaters and pedestrians alike. To ensure the success of this project, I kindly request your support in the following ways. Advocacy. Your vocal support during city council meetings and public forums can help garner broader community backing and raise awareness about the positive impact of the skate park. With your advocacy, we can also apply for additional support from organizations such as the Skate Park Project. Funding allocation. We pledge to diligently seek grants and investments from the community, along with our own investments. We also request that the city please consider advocating for the allocation of resources, if ever available within the city budget. Or please pledge to share opportunities for potential investments that will continue to fund the construction and maintenance of the skate park. Community engagement. Sustainable communities not only demand citizen engagement, but leadership involvement as well. Your participation in community meetings, workshops, and events related to the skate park project can demonstrate your commitment to its success and encourage active community involvement. Strategic planning. We believe that Emory Park is a valuable and versatile space within the city, and the DIY skate park is just one activity that can draw the community together. We envision that this can be a space for food trucks, a farmer's market, and general gathering, similar to Central Park in downtown Durham. A multi-use park could be a valuable space for families in the community. I'm confident that with your leadership and support, our city can establish a vibrant beginner skate park that enriches the lives of residents, gives new life to Emory Park, and contributes to the overall well-being and sustainability of our community. I would be honored to discuss this initiative further or provide any additional information you may require. Thank you for your time, consideration, and dedication to our city's growth and development. We look forward to the possibility of working together to make this project a reality.
Thank you, Brandon. That was very well done. As you can see, Brandon just did an excellent job on what they're trying to do, their vision, and what they would like to see. This is in its infancy. You have that in your books there that we talk about. What staff would like tonight is to give consensus to approve to continue working with this group and to gather more information and quotes for the project. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And John, or excuse me, Director Simeon.
Yes.
Just wanted to also add to that when we met on site at Emory Park Tennis Courts and all, we started talking about ideas of cost and how we could acquire those and the options of either putting concrete on top of the existing courts or having to do full demo. And really it got to a point where before too much level of effort gets put into it and looking for grants and things, we believe that it was important to get council involved from the very beginning. And if council does not have that vision for the park, then it wouldn't be worth going through the effort. So really what we'd like to be able to do is in the near future, bring back some more detailed information for council, but really just kind of seeking some consensus before doing so to see if it's worthwhile.
I would like to say we definitely need to do something with the piece of property. And as any other thing that we've gone through, we want to definitely look at the cost of the city as well. At the same time, if a group is interested in doing it, I would like for them to continue to work on the information anyway. We're not committing, but once the information is gathered, then of course we can. But I still, at the same time, would like to see, and this is personal, I guess, additional proposals for that piece of property as well. So, the park's is nice. It looks good from the picture that was given. I think it would, as the gentleman said earlier, would do some of the things that it said. But I would like to say, you know what? Here are a couple of options for this piece of property. But the skate park, I don't have a problem with it. That was my personal rendition.
Mayor, I too like the idea of that. I know when the first skate park over at T.J. Davis, that's sort of an advanced skate park, but I do know that, just by riding by it and looking at it, I've gathered in my mind that it's a very affordable sport. You don't have to, kids today, if they play soccer, they end up traveling and they go places everywhere, and it's expensive, and a lot of kids can't afford the travel ball, and that's very prevalent in our area today. But skating, all you need is a skateboard. You don't need a uniform. I guess you have other equipment, but it's a very affordable sport that you can do for life, unlike basketball and baseball and stuff. I like the idea of us looking into that and exploring the possibilities.
We talked about when we were doing it, we needed more people to come to the council meeting to tell us what they wanted. And I think this is a very good example of what we were looking for. The other thing is when the concept of the skateboard park over at T.J. Davis came about, it was originally going to cost about $25,000, and the community raised that money. Am I not correct on that? Pretty close?
The overall project was roughly $250,000.
Yeah, but we got a
Part
big
of
grant.
that was grant.
Yeah.
All of that was grant, except for the group that I worked with at that time, who is, some of them are still here in this room this evening. They worked with me, and there was about $30,000 that was raised, whether it was in kind or financial backing for that skate park.
But they had a good concept, and they had the community behind it, and somebody wrote a grant. I think Mr. Wood would be a good one to
Yes.
do that.
When we did the original project in the skate park, we met, and I want to say we met for probably 3 months, helped design the skate park. We had probably 15 to 20 people that were there talking about what they wanted to see. We had the contractor come in, he looked at it, we made changes, they would come back. They also were very good at getting out in the community and getting people to support them in their vision.
Well, I'm like the two that have already spoken. I would support it also. Support looking at it,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, especially over that Emory Park. The question I have, the tennis court now, of course, I know you're tired of, is that all of it going to be concrete, or is it going to be asphalt like?
Well, a lot of that has to do with moving forward. Councilman Smith, we don't have any prices as of right now, and we hadn't seen a contractor. So the original, when we talked, we had talked about maybe 3 out of the 6 courts would be used as a skate park.
Okay.
So the other 3, that's just part of gathering data and getting a plan together.
Well, I'm behind it. I'm behind it. I think it'd be a good idea.
Sir.
Brian, you want to say anything?
I'm not opposed to a skate park. I know there have been some other suggestions for use for that park. One was to include pickleball courts, which is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. right now. Another was for a dog park for that part of the town. So, I mean, I'm excited that people are interested and want to, go on and build something and hopefully finance it, and it won't be just something that the city is trying to bear. But, I agree, sounds like a good idea, but we want to make sure that it's going to be open, that everybody's going to feel like they can participate and have opportunities for using it. And also just maybe one or two of those other ideas that have been tossed out, we can consider that. Because, I have walked over there. It's a great park for walking. And, it would be a great park also for people to walk with their pets. And it needs to be utilized more, so I'm not opposed to it, considering it.
So,
Does that give you enough?
would you just take a consensus for me and make sure that everybody's through speaking for me, please, sir?
I just asked, does anybody not feel like that we have a consensus, them to try to move on to a next step?
Thank you.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll return with any data that we have prior to moving forward. So thank you for your time.
Ms. Johnson, I believe, the audit contract.
Yes, I would like, in accordance with the NCGF 59-34A, City Council must approve the contract for the audit for the city financial statements. Attached are the copies of the engagement letter and contract with Gregory T. Redmond, CPA, conduct the audit for the city financial statements. So I'm asking the council to consider a motion to approve the letter of engagement with Gregory Redmond.
Does anybody have any questions from the finance director? If they don't, I'd call for a motion to approve her request.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the letter of engagement and contract with Gregory T. Redmond, CPA, to conduct the audit of the city financial statement for 2023 and authorize the mayor to execute engagement letter and contract.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Farabee. Second by Councilman Smith. Any more discussion? All in favor, will say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And next, our police chief, Chief Guy Ant, mutual aid agreement with the county.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council. What I bring before you is two items. The first would be 8C. This is the consideration for a motion to authorize the city manager and the police chief to enter into a presented mutual aid agreement between the city of Roanoke Rapids and the Halifax County Sheriff's Office. You may be familiar in history, there was a narcotics task force between the municipalities and the Sheriff's Office. For whatever reason, that did not come to fruition, did not do well. This new partnership that the police department has here in Roanoke Rapids with the Sheriff's Office, we both are strapped for resources, and specifically when it comes to fighting narcotic sales in our city. If you listen to Sheriff Davis's presentation last week to the county commissioners, he had commented about a situation that we had come across the past couple of weeks. I can't really speak much about it, but it was a huge deal and a huge collaboration between the Sheriff's Office and the police department. We have presenting before you this mutual aid agreement, this memorandum of understanding. The purpose of this is to foster the interagency cooperation between the police department and the Sheriff's Office by providing an individual or individuals to participate in the recreation of the Halifax Regional Drug Task Force. we have decided that in speaking with the sheriff that this would be a wonderful opportunity to have that partnership, have that collaboration. We share a lot of intel on different types of narcotics and narcotics transactions in the city and in the county. And a lot of those times we're duplicating our efforts. And by forming this task force with the sheriff's office, we'll be able to combine our efforts, combine our resources, and have a lot of a better bite for our process. We have spoken with the U.S. Attorney's Office. We have a really great relationship right now with a few of the U.S. attorneys as far as selling narcotics, the possession of firearms while selling narcotics. And we have to do the best we can to supplement what the District Attorney's Office is just not able to do at this moment. By joining with the task force and by getting this together, we're also able to share asset funds that come about. Presently, as it stands right now, we would only be providing a third of the resources to the task forces versus the sheriff's office 2/3. So the asset forfeiture part right now is stated in the memorandum of understanding. Depending upon what kind of case it was, if it was a Department of Revenue case, we would be looking at a 75% forfeited amount that we could get as far as asset forfeiture. Based off the 2/3, 1/3 calculation, that would mean the sheriff's office would get 43% of that 75%, and the police department could get 32% of that. In a particular case where the Department of Justice, the Drug Enforcement Agency, was involved, again, just like with the Department of Revenue in North Carolina, that's a 75% asset forfeiture with the same calculations as before. If involving Homeland Security, it's a little bit different. When Homeland Security gets involved, it's a 70% split versus the 75% with the other federal agencies. So that would be a 50-50 split between the county and the city because of the Homeland Security being involved. And also, if the Homeland Security had an actual task force officer that was assigned, we would have that 50-50 split as far as the asset forfeitures goes. You probably remember about a couple months ago, did actually have some forfeitures that were released to us. They do supplement our budgets very good. They are actually the driving force that provides us the finances that we need to fight narcotic sales in the city. Currently, the Sheriff's Department has 5 narcotics agents, and we have 1. We do have a vacancy for 1 that we're trying to get filled. They're about to lose one of their narcotics agents to a DEA task force, so that'll put them down to 4. So by joining forces, by providing the ability to have our asset officer join the task force, they would also be duly sworn to also work in the county as much as work in the city. And with narcotics work, you never work alone. You always have to have a partner. And it's definitely it behooves both of us to have that agreement and to work together on as far as that goes. I see nothing but wonderful things that could come out of this, especially with the revigorated relationship that the two departments. The memorandum of understanding and the agreement that you're seeing before you is pretty laid out. Is kind of very similar to what other organizations are doing as far as other county and city organizations. But the motion before you is to allow the city police department to join with the Halifax County Sheriff's Office in the creation of the Halifax County Regional Drug Task Force. So that's 8C, my presentation on that. And if you got any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Anybody have any questions of the police chief?
Mr. Mayor, Chief Guyant had me review this agreement, and we made a couple of changes to it. I like this agreement. I like having it, having these issues written down and kind of hammered out in writing. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people realize is that police chiefs and sheriffs can actually, under their own authority, enter into temporary agreements for mutual aid all the time. And even in lieu of agreement, I mean, there are probably many situations where within the city of Roanoke Rapids jurisdiction where an incident will happen and you have both agencies kind of respond to it. Narcotics is relatively unique in that because of the way that it kind of moves around in commerce and because that there's a monetary aspect to it, it's kind of unique from other crimes that generally occur in Halifax County. And so I think that's why it's kind of acute in this situation. We may want something more than just a temporary agreement. And it is nice to have the different aspects of asset forfeiture kind of spelled out in writing. And I'll just note to council, and I think council probably remembers, and I can't remember the exact amount, but I know that in the last the last fiscal year, I want to say the city recovered something like $200,000 in asset forfeiture, something kind of in that number. And for a city whose annual budget is 16 million, 17 million, I mean that's not an insignificant amount. I'll just say that. So I have reviewed it, and it does. I do think that it is a good thing for council to consider.
Okay, if anyone else has any additional questions, we move to a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager and police chief to enter into the presented mutual aid agreement between the city of Roanoke Rapids and Halifax County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Brown and a second by Councilman Smith. Is there any more discussion on the matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'd like now to talk about 8D.
If we could.
Yeah.
If we could, I think Councilman Stainback indicated that he may have a conflict issue in this matter, so council probably needs to address that and make a motion and vote considering his recusal.
So he just said at the beginning of the meeting he might have a conflict. I'll leave that up to you with his position as a SRO office that we.
It sounds like a pretty solid conflict to me. So I think council does need to have does need to take a vote on it.
Someone make a motion to that effect that we excuse him from that.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see any conflict it would be between him being a resource officer and city manager.
I don't think that lawfully that Mr. Stainback could vote on it if he's receiving pay from the school district in reference to this. I mean, lawfully, I don't think that he can vote on this matter.
Okay. I'm serious.
Okay, so under the advisement of the city attorney, I think we need to have a motion to allow Mr. Stainback to excuse himself.
I would like to make that motion.
Second.
Okay, you need to state the motion, what you're going to say, Cole.
I would like to make the motion that we recuse Councilman Stainback from voting on item 8D.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Farabee and a second by Councilwoman Bryant. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And I've invited former Chief Jeff Hinton up. Jeff is a school resource officer. If you have any specific questions about any of this that I'm getting to discuss that involves a specific school resource officer, he is a wealth of information there. Before you, AD, is consideration to all manager and the police chief to enter into a presented mutual aid agreement between the City of Roanoke Rapids and the Roanoke Rapids Graded School District Board of Trustees. This particular MOU was presented to us by the school board, has been reviewed by the school superintendent and the school attorney for that. Particularly what this MOU is this kind of things into writing similar to what we just talked about the drug task force, is where we actually have the duties of the school resource officer detailed in the MOU. The authority of the Roanoke Rapids Graded School District Administrator. It also goes into detail about the release of student information, which is very important in law enforcement purposes. Under FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, we can't really obtain a lot of information about students as far as that does, unless it's definitely a criminal information for sure. It also goes into really good detail about the serious incidents in the community, such as a death on campus, any life-threatening threats that are made to student or staff. damages that may occur to the property. It also does discuss how the investigation of student criminal offenses on the school grounds is handled, as well as to monitoring and the review of the SRO program. I want to come back to that in just a second to talk about that. And it also discusses the assignment of the school resource officers, their performance vacancies, filling vacancies, and their work hours. And it also discusses the authority of the police department over the actual school resource officers if needed be. And then there are terms and how to maneuver through the agreement if any party wants to recuse itself from the agreement. For the most part, I wanted to get back to the assignment of SROs. This is a unique situation in that a lot of particular jurisdictions, the school resource officers are employees of the city or the county. In this particular situation, these employees are the employees of the Roanoke Rapids Graded School District. We do provide certification for these officers and make sure that they get the training that they need to maintain their certification. But we do not, as the city, we don't provide any pay for them for the job that they do. That is done through the Roanoke Rapids Graded School District. If you have any questions of me or former Chief Hinton, of course, he's here for any questions about that particular MOU.
Don't have any questions? Consider a motion.
I got one for you. Hadn't this been going on with the city and resource officers for years?
Yes, sir.
I thought it had.
And I think it should continue to go on. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager and police chief to enter into a mutual agreement with the city of Roanoke Rapids and the Roanoke Rapids Grade School District Board of Trustees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Smith and a second by Councilman Farabee. Is there any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That item would also be approved. Thank you, Chief. Ms. Trainum, I believe, got last 8E.
Yes, thank you. In a recent meeting, the street sweeping agreement or reimbursement agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation was presented and approved by council, and when we went to submit that to the Department of Transportation, a new agreement was submitted, and after some back and forth between city attorney and staff and DOT, the revised agreement, or we're treating this as a new agreement to replace the one that was already pre-approved. And what this authorizes is the city to maintain the bridges with the street sweeper and other public works activities, and in turn, the Department of Transportation reimburses the city for those efforts, and it's about approximately $800 a month as allowed with their budget. And so the work that we do is based upon what they're providing as that repayment, or really effectively as a revenue source. And so, subject to any questions that you may have, just ask for a motion to approve the street sweeping agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation.
Anybody have any questions of the city manager on this? We've been doing it for a right good while now. Seems to work okay. If not, we call for a motion for approval.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised sweeping agreement number 11587 with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and to authorize Mayor Dowdy to execute the agreement.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Bryant. Do you hear a second to her motion?
Second.
A second by Councilman Farabee. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All no. Motion be approved. Thank you, Ms. Trainum, and you can move on to your report.
Just a few brief moments here. The restroom facility at Challoner Recreation Park is open, finally. There are a few remaining items that are yet to be completed that should be completed by the end of the upcoming weekend. That includes the partition walls within the interior of the restrooms. At the time of delivery of the modular building to the park, they were not quite ready, and so they were scheduled to be installed this Saturday, as well as the water fountain for that, and then the contractor will come back to complete stabilization of the ground where it's been disturbed from utilities and so forth. So funded by a CDBG program, and we're thankful for the state for the allocation of those funds. The outdoor pool is officially closed for the summer season. We employ many college students as lifeguards, certified lifeguards, and so we typically close out this time of year as they return back to school, and our capacity for being able to staff the pool diminishes. This past Saturday, the observance of the Syracuse Evans Day was held at the Syracuse Evans Plaza within Martin Luther King Park. It was very well attended, and over 20 individuals were recognized for their work in advocating for the civil rights in Halifax County specifically. In addition to those 20 that were part of the landmark case, the 2023 Young Trailblazer was awarded to Halifax County Sheriff Tyree Davis. The city's street resurfacing project is moving along. There have been Linwood Drive to Virginia Avenue, which is behind Manning School, and contractors have mobilized to Hunting Ridge Road. And sometimes when people ask why it's taking a little bit of time, but especially with Hunting Ridge Road, there's a perfect opportunity for the sanitary district to update water meters and so forth, and also when roads are being resurfaced, sometimes you uncover additional issues. So as we move forward with the budget of $500,000, we'll continue on making best use of the funds and staying within the budget. Tomorrow, Public Works Director Larry Chalker and Parks and Rec Director John Simeon will be meeting with Lori Medlin from the tourism office about additional wayfinding signage, and this is part of a wayfinding signage program that was initiated several years ago, and it cost a lot to do all the signs at once, but we're trying to do a few as the budget allows using the tourism dollars. And so I know that there will be some signage like out towards the area of exit 171 where there's no signage at this time. And then the other additional signages are, those locations are yet to be determined, but more information will come from that. The Southgate flood abatement project, that was, is it possible through grant funds to Halifax County for flood projects in the city of Roanoke Rapids that have to do with Chalkyot Creek. So the Southgate neighborhood, that has, residents have experienced a lot of significant erosion over the years, and so that project is in the construction phase now. You'll notice probably from the Smith Church Road area, there's a lot of RCP pipe stored on site, and the contractor has begun clearing the access path and set to begin widening and deepening the ditch to allow water to flow more efficiently to Chalkyot Creek, and trying to bypass the residents along that project way that have been experiencing erosion and building loss and so forth. And so this will be a tremendous benefit there. Unfortunately, $1 million sounds like a lot, but when you do brick and mortar and storm drain projects, it goes pretty quickly. But the beneficiaries here will certainly, it should last a while. Just a reminder, some area schools have gone back to school. The Roanoke Rapids Graded School District will start on Monday, August the 28th, thankfully, as a parent. So please be advised that the areas of the school, especially in the first week of school, at drop-off and dismissal, there will be some heavy congestion in and around the school areas, so be aware and expect some of that in a couple weeks here. This upcoming Saturday, the police department and the Citizens on Patrol are presenting Fun Day with First Responders. I believe you have already received a flyer, but this will be Saturday from 11 to 3 p.m. at Challenger Recreation Center. And also on Friday, the 25th, in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce Summer Concert Series, the fire department will have its annual fire safety fair, and they'll have some vendors set up in here with public safety information, as well as on the outside. So some activities will be inside this building as well as at Centennial Park and with the concert itself. For our upcoming meetings in September, I've received contact from the office of Congressman Don Davis, and his local director, Kim Mack, will present an update to the City Council, but when the date is to be determined of which September meeting that would be. And then we're also looking at some funding application for grants and so forth, so those resolutions may come forward at one of those meetings as well. And already looking at the having to do a road closure resolution for the Christmas parade, even though that's not until December, which will be Sunday, December the 3rd this year. DOT requires advance a few months notice on that, so that will be for the temporary closure and any other items that come up for action in business September agenda. Subject to your questions, includes my report of activities at this time.
That's great. I would like to thank all that had anything to do with the Challenger Rec restroom and park. And it's now open. It's open as planned this season, and it's been a lot of activity over at the splash pad. And again, I was glad to see that because the last time I was over, I had to take my grandkids home in my car wet. so again, it makes it great that happened. So thank you so much for everybody that had in it, John and your group, and Kelly and your group, and council. Thank you all for your support with that.
Anybody else have any questions?
To the city manager about the dedication of the homes. Have you all started working on a date for that yet? I think there were 2, right?
There's 2, and the CDBG program itself typically doesn't do something. It would have to be something that the homeowner would request. Now, for a public facility like the restroom facility, we will have a press release coming soon once the final touches are completed at the end of the week. But if the resident desires a dedication, it certainly would be appropriate. Those certificate of occupancies, those final inspections should be any time now, but we'll reach out to those homeowners and see when a time would be, but if they're interested in doing that and try to schedule that.
Okay, I know at least one of them is interested.
I think it would be great. I'm excited for both of them. Both homeowners have lived in very old homes for a long time, and having a brand new home is it's going to make the rest of their lives very significant.
Else have anything else? Okay, Ms. Johnson.
Start of a new year, expenditures always exceed the revenues. So, as of July, revenue was $224,319.84. Expenditures were $1,636,000. That's mostly due to, paying, your annual contracts, like your insurance things. But we did, we saw it hit the bank. We had 2.1 million come in sales tax. So, just to let you know that. I'll quickly put that in our savings so we could make some money off of it. Right now, as of July, we got some commercial solid waste, some interest revenue, of course. our grant and donation funds, and then, we had the deposit from the theater sale, as other revenue. Does any questions?
I got questions. Are we negotiating with Bank of America on that money that we had sold for the theater?
No, we have not discussed that at all.
I'll add, I have reached out to our financial advisors with Davenport, and in the upcoming weeks, we will have a meeting with them about that, because right now, with the way it is, if we were to take the $2 million revenue and just send it to Bank of America, it would likely it would be expected to be applied to the end of the loan, and we want to try to make sure that anything we apply goes towards the principal and not interest. And so that is upcoming, and so we will be reaching out to council for that input on that as well, in your direction. With the interest rates currently where they are on the market right now, if any renegotiation is expected to have a higher interest rate. So with the financial advisors, they've said we're doing the right thing right now, keeping the funds in our cash management reserve account with the interest rates where they are at the moment, but probably.
What rate are we getting on it?
On the cash management account?
Well, if you look at your financials, we made $35,000 for the month of July off of our funds that we have in NC Cash Management. And when we received that money for the theater, I directly put it into that account so we could start earning some money on it.
Ms. Johnson, do you know the current interest rate?
I could get that. It's like 4 point something. I don't know the exact rate, but it's like 4 point something. About the same as you would get on a CD right now.
Okay. Isn't some banks now offering a 5 point something?
No, as we are local government, we are restricted on where we can invest our money. Okay? So NC Capital Management is the best place to put our money. And we have been getting very high returns on those funds.
Well, as the bank is only getting 2.4, 2.5 on our loan.
2.54.
I'm like Councilman Smith. At some point, they might like to get, we might can make some kind of an agreement with them if we pay a large payment down on that loan, that they might be willing to forgive some of it, because they can go from getting 2.5 to getting 6 or 7 on that money, if we can do it through the stipulations.
That's right. Can we talk to Davenport? When you talk to Davenport about negotiating, maybe Bank of America writing some of this loan off?
Yes, we'll get a meeting scheduled and try to include as many council as possible, unless we advertise as a quorum. But we definitely, staff are not going to make a decision we're not authorized to make those final decisions on, I guess, the repurposing or the reauthorization of funds. And plus, with the local government commission, we'd have to make sure that everything was okay there. But we'll get those meetings set up very soon and involve the council, and so we'd all be at the same speed. But any